8,000 miles? That sounds insanely dangerous. What? Why just Germany? Oh my gosh, that's a crazy price. What is up? Welcome back. Today I'm reacting to a video titled No Speed Limits in Germany, Why the US Doesn't Have an Autobahn. You know what? That's a good question. And so in this video, I hope we discover why that's true. What is up? If you haven't met me yet, my name is Aaron and this is Aaron Arnold Reacts. Through this channel, I'm discovering everything about Europe, the people, the culture, the sports, anything you can imagine. The goal of this channel is to laugh together, to learn together, and to have fun together. I post videos every single day, so make sure you hit like and subscribe, and you're going to see another video just like this one in the future. Now, why doesn't the US have an Autobahn? And let's learn about Germany's. Let's go.
Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche. These cars have made Germany famous for automotive engineering.
Yes.
And they are fast and powerful enough for these equally famous German roads, which are unlike any other in the world. The Autobahn, a national highway system with no top speed limit. If you love cars, chances are driving the Autobahn as fast as you can is one of the things you want to do before you die.
Fair enough.
Actually put your vehicle to the test and really show its full potential is the ultimate.
This guy needs it. He needs it bad.
Everything about the Autobahn owes a lot to Germany's unique and difficult history.
So there's this kind of bizarre Cold War moment when German lawmakers argue that being a free citizen, somebody who is not living in a totalitarian dictatorship, has to be able to drive as fast as they want.
I love that. They literally convinced the government, hey, I thought you said this was a free country. I need to drive as fast as I can.
So why doesn't the US or any other country in the world have an Autobahn? And is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Okay, let's do it.
First things first, what is the Autobahn? The full name is actually Bundesautobahn, which simply means federal highway. It is a more than 8,000-mile system of limited...
8,000 miles? Oh my gosh, that's like 13,000 kilometers or something. When an American hears about the Autobahn, they always imagine it's like, 100 miles stretch where you can just go as fast as you want. But it's literally the whole country, and that's insane.
Limited access freeways that run all throughout Germany. The word Autobahn is often just translated as motorway. In simple design terms, it's quite similar to freeways in the United States. Limited access means cars and trucks only. No pedestrians, no bicycles, no skateboards, nothing other than cars. There are designated entry and exit points and no stoplights or intersections. The roots of the Autobahn go back all the way to the early 20th century, but really the first big step in its growth happened under Adolf Hitler. There really was no need for it at all. Few Germans owned cars. Most took public transit, which was plenty fast and got people to where they needed to go. The Autobahn's real potential was as propaganda.
They wanted to build a sort of a futuristic mega project, something that would lend itself to, talking about the regime as a modern, forward-looking regime. At the same time, while it was, politically speaking, a very repressive, totalitarian dictatorship, right? It was about symbolizing power, the conquest of space.
By the end of World War II, there were less than 4,000 kilometers built, about 2,500 miles.
That's still a long way. Like at that time, that's really a long way.
It was really
modern
from the
Autobahn,
1960s through the 80s that the Autobahn system we know today was properly developed.
This was obviously a time when the Federal Republic became sort of an affluent Western liberal democracy and also much more of a consumer society. So people actually began to own cars in much higher numbers.
The post-World War II era is also when the Autobahn gained its most famous trait: long stretches with no speed limits. During the Nazi era, the speed limits were mainly to conserve fuel for the war effort.
A new free nation for Germany.
Once West Germany became independent and separate from the Communist East in 1949, it kept the Nazi-era speed limits for a few years. Then,
in a really astonishing move, the federal parliament in 1952 decides to abolish all speed limits, not just on the Autobahn.
In 1952, all speed limits, not just on the Autobahn. That's insane. Okay, he's about to give us a bit more. Let's hear.
But than any kind of highway, and in urban areas as well. And you can imagine
Wow. In urban areas as well? Oh my gosh. That sounds insanely dangerous.
the results, especially in cities, right? With cars going as fast as they want.
Crashes, injuries, and fatalities all rose until the government started reinstating limits on roads. It mostly left the Autobahn alone.
Okay.
Mostly. Today, speed is regulated on about 40% of the motorways. Some limits are fixed, others are dynamic, changing according to conditions.
Oh,
On
okay.
the rest of the freeway, the recommended speed limit is about 80 miles per hour. That means if you get into a crash at a
Just to give you perspective real quick, the US, most highways like this are around 70 miles per hour. So that'd be around what, 115, something like that. It's not much higher. When you get out to Texas and out west, it might go up to 75 miles an hour, but still that's below 130. So actually, I think European highways are actually faster in general, not just Germany.
at a speed above that, you can be held liable for the accident.
My parents commute regularly from Nuremberg to Munich, and my mom will drive 100 miles an hour, and it's not a big deal.
It's not that unusual to just travel somewhere at 200 kilometers an hour, which is around 125 miles an hour. But all
Wow.
things considered, on average, I would say it's probably best to imagine Autobahn traffic somewhat like driving through Texas, maybe, or through Kansas. People don't
Okay.
drive slow. It's quite fast all the way around, but it's not recklessly fast. It's not
Okay.
race car fast.
German race car driver Rudolf Caracciola is still believed to hold the record for the fastest speed ever recorded on the Autobahn, 268.8 miles per hour.
What? Oh my gosh. That's insanely fast.
But others have come quite close, such as a Bugatti Chiron that hit 257 in 2021.
So I have driven a BMW B7. It's an Alpina 600 horsepower sedan. I drove that 170 on the Autobahn. That's the fastest I've driven. It was difficult to do, by the way.
I'd rather not talk about the fastest I went, even though it's legal to do so. Let's just say I once went 4 towns away from us by accident. I didn't want to go that far, but I was just going a little too quickly.
German automakers don't necessarily make their cars specifically for the Autobahn, but the demands of high-speed environments like these highways do influence their engineering decisions and marketing.
Wow.
Mercedes refers to their cars as Autobahn proven.
Driving at high speed is not a video game. It should be relaxed cruising, yeah? And the big challenge for us is controlling the energy in the car, which increases with the square of speed. And that becomes very important at speeds over about, I would say, 60 miles per hour.
Wow. Okay. So they're literally building this for speed and comfort and performance. German engineering, it's just special. Germany has some of the best engineering in the whole world. Everybody knows that.
It starts with aerodynamic designs, but axles, suspension systems, springs, dampers, roll bars, the tires, the braking systems are all tuned to perform at this level.
We
Wow.
tune the vehicle safety, the comfort, and agility, yes, to deliver a typical Mercedes-Benz driving character at high speeds.
Mercedes even has an onboard system designed to keep the car on course when it is hit from the side by a strong gust of wind.
Oh,
With startling events like, for example, powerful wind gusts. So our aim is to keep the car stable and safely on course at high speed without permanent steering corrections, while damping out bothersome chassis motions. And the car will always support the driver by being
Wow.
tolerant of mistakes.
To understand why Germany is based
all right. This is the question. This is the question we all want to know. The US, everybody wishes you could go so fast. And most drivers still drive without a speed limit, even though they're not supposed to, obviously. And I'm sure European neighbors are like, what is going on? Why can't I go so fast? But they probably literally go to Germany just to drive. Why just Germany? Why just Germany?
basically the only country in the world with a mostly unregulated highway like this, it is probably best to look at what makes Germany's driving laws and car culture so different from, say, the supposedly freedom-loving United States. First of all, it's a lot harder to drive a car in general in Germany. You can't get a license in the country until the age of 18. In the US, the law varies, but in most states, people can obtain learner's permits at 15 and receive licenses allowing them to drive legally.
Okay, that's the case for me. I grew up in Georgia in the US. Permit at 15, you have to drive with a parent. And then at 16, I got my driver's license and I could drive by myself.
Under at least some conditions by the age of 16. It is also far more expensive and challenging to obtain a license. Many hours of instruction are required and the tests are demanding.
It's much more difficult, it's more expensive. A lot of people fail their driving tests, myself included.
Fees for a license and all of the associated instruction in Germany can run 2,500 to 3,500 euros
Oh my gosh, that's a crazy price.
when you add up the costs. The fee for a driver's license in the state of California is $45, but that state, as is common in the US, requires driver education classes as well.
Yeah.
Then, the certification process for your car in the country is also extremely stringent.
I had to get my 500 euro minivan through it. It was not easy. And that sort of makes the Autobahn feel safer. You know you're surrounded by cars that have been rigorously checked. A lot of cars here in the States, especially in the Rust Belt, would probably not be fit for the Autobahn.
Having such barriers in the US would really limit the number of people and cars who can drive in a country that is right now far more car dependent than Germany is. Americans drive about twice as much as Germans.
Germany is a much more urbanized country. There's lots of people who live
Mhm.
in major cities who don't even have a driver's license. They get around using public transit and
See, we just don't have that. We just do not have that.
use rail.
Then there is the cost of this. A lot of engineering goes into keeping these motorways drivable at these speeds. The pavement is extremely smooth and is more or less constantly maintained. That's expensive. The German government spends 5 times more on the Autobahn than it does on its other federal highways.
If you look at the average American freeway or interstate, you will usually just find concrete surfaces. And in Germany, it's way more intricate than that. You can drive through the pouring rain on modern strips of Autobahn that were recently redone, and you don't have any spray whatsoever. You can travel at very high speeds through the pouring rain, and that is no issue at all.
Though the
Wow.
US population is far larger than Germany's, building up a highway system that could realistically handle such high speeds would require much investment. And US infrastructure suffers both criticism and financial insecurity.
True.
The thing is, Tracy
Okay.
says,
Is it unsafe? Because I would feel like it is. And I think that's what an American would say. That, man, there's no way that can be safe.
Americans might not be missing as much as they think they are.
I have found that the reality is just, it's a little bit anticlimactic in a way. It's just not quite what you want it to be.
Just because there is no speed limit doesn't mean you will always be able to drive fast. Across Germany, there were about 516,000 traffic jams in a single
Wow.
year. And the number of hours Germans spend in traffic has been rising. Several highways had traffic jams that were longer than 40 miles.
Oh my
It's under
gosh.
construction a lot. It makes sense. If you have an unrestricted highway, it has to be perfect. You can't have a deep pothole like in Detroit where I used to live. If you had one of those potholes on the Autobahn, you'd see cars getting air.
Germany's Autobahns are also major thoroughfares for international commerce.
Germany is kind of right smack dab in the center there of Europe. It's sort of this connector between east and west, even north and south. So you see a lot of commerce. A lot of trucks are traveling on that Autobahn, and they are not fast.
If you come to Germany and expect a large and vast countryside and you can go wherever as fast as you like, then you might get disappointed because it's quite crowded and we have large cities.
The absence of speed limits on German motorways divides even German opinion. Polls have shown that a slight majority of Germans favor introducing a hard limit on the Autobahn.
Really? If you're German and you're seeing this right now, or do you want a limit on the Autobahn? I know it said earlier that there's 40% of it already has a speed limit, but what's your take? Speed limits or not?
For safety reasons and to help the country hit environmental goals. Speed does worsen the severity of crashes and raises the risks of injuries and deaths. That said, most of Germany's vehicle fatalities happen on rural roads, followed by urban ones.
Well,
The share of motorway fatalities is also smaller than those in some other OECD countries, such as Slovenia, Luxembourg, and Belgium.
I guess there's
oh, interesting. Huh. Very interesting.
studies supporting each side of that argument, but the numbers don't lie. You don't have much differences in fuel consumption, for example. It just doesn't make a whole lot of difference to drive 130 kilometers per hour or keep it open. And you also have to consider the fact that we don't always travel at full speed all the time.
There are also strict rules. The left lane is for passing. Unlike highways in many other countries,
Okay, that's actually a really weird thing for me to hear, because in the US, the left lane is supposed to be the fast lane, but nobody abides by that. Like, people are always weaving in and out of traffic. The left lane always has a slow car, and it's so annoying, but that's how it is in the US. I'm glad to hear that they have only the fastest on the left in Germany, and that's how it should be.
you cannot pass on the right. If someone is behind you in the
Wow,
left
you
lane,
can't pass on the right.
have to move over. Tailgating is a serious offense that comes with heavy fines.
It's also for everybody a high responsibility. So that's why we are not allowed to pass on the right lane. You have to also adapt your speed.
Statistically speaking, autobahns are safer than other roads, but that mostly has to do with the fact that there's only cars and only trucks. I mean, there are people who literally are afraid to drive on the Autobahn because of the lack of a speed limit.
In like manner, the data on how much introducing a speed limit would reduce carbon pollution has met with skepticism, though some recent numbers suggest it might be more than previously believed.
Anybody who owns an electric car will tell you, when they go fast on the highway, their range plummets. The BMW i3, which was developed right there in Munich. And that car, I can drive it in the city and I'll go 180 miles in the city on a charge. But on the freeway, I'll do 115.
So, in many ways, Americans envious of these German speedways might be missing out on a bit of fun, but it might also be true they are envious of something.
So these electric vehicles, they don't do well on long drives in the Autobahn. That's pretty interesting.
That is more myth than reality.
I think a lot of Americans probably would travel to Germany, they'd get a fast car, and they'd say, woo-hoo-hoo, let's do it. And then they'd be stuck behind a truck in traffic, and they'd be like, what the heck's going on? It is not a racetrack, but every now and then, the right stretch of the Autobahn and the right time of day and the right car, you can reach automotive nirvana.
I love that. Automotive Nirvana. Insane video. I feel like I learned a lot right there about the Autobahn. Maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be. Some Germans want a speed limit, which is kind of shocking. Like, you always hear, why is there a speed limit? People hate speed limits. It's interesting to hear that there's a different type of concrete even on these roads, and that they're constantly having to change it. But the fact that you can drive on the rain and it'd be the exact same as without is pretty remarkable. The US has so many deadly crashes per year, and it's probably because the roads aren't good. So at least they're fixing them well in Germany. Well, if you want to keep learning about Germany with me and keep exploring Europe, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I post videos every single day, and I hope to bring you with me. So I will see you in the next video. Cheers.